like it is dharma, adharma, hinsa, ahimsa, and sukha, dukkha, and so on it will come. So when you talk of sukha, dukkha is there. When you talk of joys, sorrows will be there, happiness, misery will be there, pleasure, pain will be there, and so on it will go. But now here it is akhanda anandam. Anandam is the blissful state where there is no opposite to that. And then advayam. Now advayam, advayam is non-dual. So already in the first line, Nitya Shuddha Vimukta Ekam, one. And then in the second line, Adi Shankara says, Akhanda Anandam Advayam. So non-dual. So Ekam, non-dual, they actually mean the same thing. Nothing other than that. Nothing other than that exists, Advayam. Now here, since Advayam has come with Ananda, we can also interpret in this way, all our worldly pleasures are in the realm of duality. Our so-called joys, happiness, and pleasures of this world are in the realm of duality, in the sense that we have to experience something, either at the five sensory level, something pleasing to the eyes we see, and that gives us joy. Something pleasing to the ear we hear, and then that gives us some kind of pleasure or joy or happiness. Something fragrant we smell, that gives us some joy or some pleasure. Then something tasty we have, that will give us some kind of happiness or joy. And some pleasurable touch we have, and that gives us some kind of joy. So in all these things, something other than ourselves is involved. It is not non-dual. So for me to enjoy the level of my perception of the eyes, I have to see something other than I, something pleasing to me which will give me happiness. Something pleasing to hear which is other than I, something pleasing to smell, or something very tasty, something other is involved. So in all the worldly pleasures, joy, pleasures and happiness, duality is there. So the joy, pleasure or happiness that we derive from the external world depends upon the external objects. So our so-called joy, pleasure or happiness depends upon a favorable, conducive time, place, object, people, relationships, situations, circumstances, conditions, environment, and so on. All these factors are involved in that. So there are so many factors are involved, external factors are involved. So those sorrows, those joy, pleasure or happiness or sukha, so they come in the realm of duality. And they come in the pairs. So sukha will be followed by dukkha, like that. Happiness will be followed by misery. Joys will be followed by sorrow. And so on it will go like that. But here now, akhanda anandam advayam, akhanda indivisible. There are no parts to that. One complete whole, indivisible, akhanda anandam. Anandam is beyond the pairs of opposites, and advayam. In this bliss, there is no need of any other thing. This is the bliss of the self. For all our worldly pleasures, we need to experience something other than ourselves. That gives us some kind of happiness, joy or pleasure. But here, this is akhanda anandam. This is the bliss of the self. So we do not have to experience anything else. Now, can we get some kind of happiness without actually experiencing anything else other than ourselves, anything outside ourselves? This is a big question. Because till date we have known only joys that we have derived from the external world, happiness, pleasure or something that we have derived from the external world. So can there be some kind of happiness where we do not need to depend on anything external to ourselves, any other objects other than ourselves or outside ourselves? Yes, every day we actually go through this experience every day, where no objects are involved and yet we are happy. And that happiness is a unique happiness. When we go into the deep sleep state, in the deep sleep state, of course, we say, when we wake up from the deep sleep state, the first thing we say, of course, is that I didn't know anything. And the next statement is, but I enjoyed it. First statement is, I didn't know anything. And the next statement is, but I enjoyed it. So now, what did you enjoy? The question is, what did you enjoy in the deep sleep state? First thing, that I didn't know anything, and yet how did I enjoy? Did I see something beautiful there? No. Did I smell something fragrant? No. Did I taste something delicious? No. So what did I enjoy there? Without enjoying anything, any external objects, yet when I wake up from the deep sleep state, I say I didn't know anything, but I enjoyed it. So that joy that we got in the deep sleep state is nothing but the bliss of our own self. We get a glimpse, a small glimpse, a minute glimpse of the bliss, infinite bliss of our own self. So nothing else was absent. Temporarily the ego was absent. Everything was absent. The mind and intellect was not functioning. Everything was not there. And then what happens is that nothing was there. And then we experience that bliss, that happiness, and we wake up and say, I didn't know anything, but I enjoyed it. So that means this bliss, if one realizes, and therefore great saints, sages, and masters who had realized the self, irrespective of how many sorrows, miseries, or pain they may be having in their lives, or their body may be ridden with so many diseases and all that, irrespective of that, they always remain in that blissful state. We can remain in that only in the deep sleep state, and deep sleep state is again temporary. It is not permanent. We cannot remain in the deep sleep state permanently. No, we have to wake up. If we can wake up from the deep sleep state minus the ego, then we have arrived. So those who have realized the self, it is the deep sleep state in the waking plane of consciousness, and therefore they are always in that blissful state without the need of any external objects. So akhanda anandam advayam satyam. Satyam is the pure existence which is not subject to any change or modification. Satyam jnanam, pure knowledge, objectless knowledge, and anantam, anantam infinite. Yat param brahma aham evatam. Now till this we had seen in our last session. Today we will take up a new shloka, 37 shloka. Evam nirantara abhyasta brahma eva asmi iti vasana harati avidya vikshepan rogan iva rasayanam. Now the thing is, evam nirantara abhyasta. In this way, evam, in this way. In what way? Our earlier shlokas, Adi Shankara had given us the template, how we have to go about it, how we can negate our panchakoshas, how we can never be this body, sense organs, pranas, mind and intellect. Of course, we have done this exhaustive reasoning of why we cannot be the gross physical body. We took up the 14 reasons. Now, most of those reasons will be applicable for the sense organs, for the pranas also, mind and the intellect also, if not all of them, but many of those will be applicable to all the other among the panchakoshas. So here the thing is that evam nirantara abhyasa, so continuous reflection and contemplation has to go on. Now, of course, fortunately now for all of us here, we got this ready-made. Now 14 reasons all of you got ready-made. You didn't have to reflect or contemplate over that to arrive at these 14 reasons. So therefore I said that the homework will be, the contemplation will be to come up with the 15th reason. But these 14 reasons also, it should be our direct knowledge. When somebody asks why you are not the body, let me check my notes. There are 14 reasons I know it. I have written, I've taken a printout, I have got a note or something like that. Let me check that. No, it has to be your direct knowledge, anytime, anywhere. So this reflection, evam nirantara abhyasta. So nirantara means continuous. You see, nirantara is very, Adi Shankara is very clear. It is continuous, non-stop, abhyasta. So nirantara abhyasta, continuous practice, continuous study, continuous reflection and contemplation going on. So like that. And therefore, this spirituality is not a part-time job. It is a 24 hours full-time job. Even we may be a grahastha also, whatever it may be, whatever our thoughts, our feelings, our words, our actions, our duties that we are performing, every time in the background, the spirituality always has to be there. And the best thing, Nirantara Abhyasta, about this reasons why I cannot be the body or the mind or the intellect or the sense organ, the simple thing is that whenever we get aches and pains in the body or physically there are some illnesses, if mind is hurt, if we feel intellectually insulted and things like that, that is the time when the contemplation has to go on. Well, I am neither the body, nor the mind, nor the intellect, so it should not matter to me. So this is a continuous, because throughout the day, something or the other will happen. Some problem or the other, our body will give us, our sense organs will give us, our mind will give us, our intellect will give us, something or the other will keep on happening. So every time we have to remind ourselves. And then I also had told you about the sankalpa that we have to take, that this is our last. We are not taking any form in any locus ever again. That should be the sankalpa. So every time we get hurt, we get some aches and pains, we have some physical issues, health issues, or psychological issues like that. Every time we have to remind ourselves that the sankalpa has to be again made stronger one. So evam nirantara abhyasta, nirantara, continuous. Here Adi Shankaracharya ji doesn't say that, instead of nirantara he doesn't use that dainandin, daily. So that you have to do this practice daily. No, he doesn't talk about daily. Nirantara. Nirantara, each and every moment, all the time, at all times, 24 hours every moment. Evam nirantara abhyasta. Brahma eva asmi iti vasana. Brahma eva asmi. I can, by no stretch of imagination, can I ever be any of these. Neither the body, nor the sense organs, nor the pranas, nor the intellect, nor the mind, or their contents, and so on. Evam nirantara abhyasta. And then what happens is that until now the practice was, I was always thinking about myself being of the body. Aham dehosmi. Now that has to be replaced by aham brahmasmi. Aham brahma eva asmi iti. Now vasana, the word vasana has come. Now let us dwell upon this vasana. Vasana is the tendencies or impressions that we have inherited from our past fields of experience in this life as well as in the past, total past lives. All our desires arise out of this vasana. Because we have experienced something in our past life, and if we enjoyed that experience, we liked it very much, and then we'll have a desire to experience it again and again. That is how we develop vasana, whether it is for food or whatever it may be. Addictions also come because of that alone, because we have experienced something and we felt. Again, remember this, there is absolutely no joy, pleasure or happiness anywhere in the external existence. If we feel that by consuming something I get some kind of joy or happiness, a smoker will feel that by smoking he or she will get some kind of pleasure out of that. A person who drinks alcohol, he thinks that he is deriving pleasure out of that. It is all imagination, projection of an individual mind. Because the same object which one person derives pleasure, that same object can be a cause for pain for others, misery for others. And somebody else will be absolutely neutral against that. Neither happiness, nor joy, nor the misery, and so on. So if we analyze thoroughly, there is no external object where any of these joys or pleasures come. But in our ignorance, we think that we are getting out of that particular object. It is all our projection, mental projection on that. And actually, the little bit of joy, pleasure that we experience, it comes from our own self that is projected on the object, which is not there in the object. So now, this is how we develop the vasana. We keep on experiencing. Once we feel that by experiencing a certain object, I'm getting some kind of pleasure or happiness, then I want to experience it again and again. And that is how the mind will start running on that track. And that is how that impression is created. That is how the vasana is created. And some people have such a strong vasana, they become addicted to certain things. Addicted to narcotic drugs, addicted to alcohol, addicted to tobacco or nicotine and so on. So these are, when constantly the mind is running on that and constantly one is getting experienced out of that. And that is how the vasanas are developed. So now this vasana we have collected for millions and millions of lives. And from time to time, these vasanas are all in our subconscious mind. Okay, so from time to time, some of them will manifest and come to the surface of the conscious mind, from the subconscious mind, and then from there a desire will arise. And once a desire arises, it will never allow us to keep quiet. Then it will pull us out, and then it will take us into those fields, because now that desire arises, and unless we fulfill that desire, we'll be restless. So then we'll get into some kind of activity to fulfill that desire. We'll invest in terms of time, money, and effort to fulfill that desire. And after fulfilling that only, we'll feel a little bit calm and peaceful at one place. Until we fulfill that, we don't feel calm and peaceful. We'll always be restless. So it is because of these vasanas. Now, the vasanas which we have brought from the past, most of it can be, we can get rid of most of the vasanas. The very strong vasanas, we have no choice but to experience and exhaust it. Some of the vasanas are very strong, so there will be no choice but to experience and exhaust it. But most of the vasanas we can get rid of, and certain techniques are given. Now, what happens is that we have many paths, and therefore we have got many techniques also. For example, in Bhakti Yoga, Japa Sadhana is given as the practice. Japa Sadhana is given for exhaustion of vasanas. To a great extent, to Japa Sadhana, we can get rid of vasanas. That is in Bhakti Yoga. Then in Karma Yoga, Nishkama Karma Yoga is given as a practice to get rid of vasana. Nishkama Karma Yoga, see, everybody does karma, but just by doing karma, it doesn't become Karma Yoga. When does karma become Karma Yoga? When karma is done without selfish motive, then it becomes Karma Yoga. So that is called as Nishkama Karma. Nishkama Karma means it is not that a karma done with selfish motive. No, it is not a desire prompted activity. So when a selfless karma is done, Nishkama Karma is done, then that karma becomes Karma Yoga. So with the Karma Yoga, Nishkama Karma Yoga, so when we are doing this karma without any desires, I do not want anything out of this action. I do not want any material benefit out of this karma that I am doing. I do not want anything, even subtler benefits like name and fame and things like that from this world. I do not desire even out of this karma that I am doing that I should be going to Swarga or these other lokas. Absolutely no desire whatsoever. That is called a Nishkama Karma. Then when we do Nishkama Karma, it becomes Karma Yoga, Nishkama Karma Yoga. So that also helps in getting rid of vasanas to a great extent. So in Bhakti Yoga, it is Japa Sadhana. In Karma, it is the Nishkama Karma Yoga. Then in Jnana Yoga, it is Pratipaksha Bhavana. Jnana Yoga, it is Pratipaksha Bhavana to get rid of the vasanas. What is this Pratipaksha Bhavana? It is very clearly given in Bhajagoindam, third shloka it is given. So in Pratipaksha Bhavana, whatever our object of desire may be there, we start seeing dosha, flaws in that particular object of desire. We keep looking at that. And when we are looking, when our focus is entirely on the doshas or the flaws or defects in that object of desire, immediately then our desire for that object starts vanishing. It is like that. If any object has got, say, 99 bad qualities and one good quality is there, and suppose we focus exclusively on that one good quality, ignoring the 99 bad quality, we will have desire for that object. Even in spite of that object having 99 bad qualities. And if you look at the other way around, if an object has got 99 good qualities and one bad quality, and we continuously focus on that bad quality, the desire for that object will also go away. So it is like that. So this is called as Pratipaksha Bhavana. Finding flaws in our object of desire. When we start detecting those defects or flaws in that, slowly the desire for that object will start vanishing. So this Pratipaksha Bhavana practice is given, sadhana is given in Jnana Yoga to get rid of vasana. So now we have got three different yoga. In Bhakti Yoga, Japa Sadhana. In Karma, this Nishkam Karma Yoga. In Jnana Yoga, it is Pratipaksha Bhavana. In Hatha Yoga, it is Manduki Mudra. Practice of Manduki Mudra also will get rid of many of our vasanas. And then we come to the Kriya Yoga. In Kriya Yoga, Chidakash Dharana practice. Those who have attended my meditation session, we did Chidakash Dharana once or twice maybe. So in Chidakash Dharana, there are first 7 steps are there. And once we finish off the practice of 7 steps, we enter into the 8th step called as Chidakash Dharana. Through Chidakash Dharana, we can get rid of vasanas to a great extent. So to a great extent, we can slowly reduce these vasanas, and to the extent that the vasanas reduce, to that extent our mind will become calm and peaceful. So that is how these vasanas, once we get rid of these vasanas, to that extent the desires will reduce. Once the desires will reduce, then the mind will not go too often in the field, external field, in the 5 fields of Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. And to that extent, the mind will be calm and peaceful. Such a mind can be applied to the contemplation of the higher reality. So, and then what vasana we had earlier, that I am this body, aham dehosmi, now that has been replaced by Brahma eva asmi iti vasana. So, Brahma eva asmi iti vasana. Now, instead of saying that aham dehosmi, now I call myself as aham brahmasmi, because through analysis I realize that I am none of these. Then, Harati avidya vikshepan. Harati avidya vikshepan. So by this vasana, what will happen? So aham brahmasmi is also a vasana, it is also a vritti. But it is to get rid of the avidya vritti. Avidya is that I am this body, that is the avidya. So to get rid of that, now aham brahmasmi vritti is used. Harati avidya vikshepa. So by this, that avidya, the ignorance, is destroyed, and then vikshepan. Vikshepa is the projection. Because of ignorance, there is an avaran, veiling is there on the absolute truth, the pure self. And because of that veiling, 2 things happen. We have the ignorance of the self, and above, because of that ignorance, then there is a projection of that which is not self. And then we get caught up in this not self, this projection. So all the Harati avidya vikshepan, all the projections are also destroyed that was arising out of our ignorance. Harati avidya vikshepan. And here the example is given. This avidya and vikshepan, they are the cause of a recurrent birth and death cycle. And our attachment to the things around us other than ourselves, attachment to this body, mind, intellect, equipment also, and all our miseries and sorrows and pain, it is because of this avidya alone. So harati avidya vikshepan, and then rogan iva rasayanam. Now here, rogan iva rasayanam. Now the example here Adi Shankara gives is like how the medicine, when a person is not well, he takes the medicine, and then that medicine cures his illness, and the medicine also is excreted out after curing the illness. So similarly, roga niva rasayanam. In fact, this example had already come in this text. In the 5th sloka, it was given the example of jalam kataka renuvat. That example was given. When a muddy water is there, this katechu nut, finely powdered katechu nut is put on that and forms a thin film. And because it is heavier than water, it will slowly sink down, taking along with that all the suspended muddy particles. And you get a clear water. So that example was given in the 5th shloka of this particular text. So, roga niva rasayanam. Similarly, this aham brahmasmi vritti will take away aham dehosmi vritti. And then aham brahmasmi is also a vritti. Brahma eva asmi iti, that is also a thought alone. And the absolute truth of the pure self is thought-free knowledge, is thought-free, objectless. Actually, you see, that is the reason why it cannot be described. The absolute truth cannot be described. We cannot say that it is the absolute truth is consciousness, pure consciousness. Now, to indicate something, we say it is pure consciousness. We cannot say pure awareness also. Awareness of what? Or it is pure knowledge. Knowledge of what? So it is difficult to say, so this cannot be described. So generally, so in a manner of saying, we say that okay, it is objectless, thought-free, objectless knowledge. All other knowledge is based on thought and it is regarding certain object. So here it is objectless, thought-free knowledge, pure awareness. It is blissful awareness, that's all. It is not a particular thought or a particular the awareness of a particular object. No, it is neither an awareness of a thought or any other object at all. So it is thought-free and objectless. So this Aham Brahmasmi is also a thought. So that has to go. So there is no I notion there. In pure realization, in absolute realization of the self, there is no I notion also. Because in that realization, Ekameva Advitya, that absolute truth is non-dual, one alone. So now, when that is non-dual, when there is nothing exists other than I, there is no notion of I in me also. This I arises only if there is an entity other than I. When there is nothing other than I, then there will be no notion of I also in me. So this Rogani Varasayanam, so this Aham Brahmasmi Vritti, Aham Brahma is also a Vritti, so this also has to get dissolved. So that also eventually gets dissolved. So therefore, what Adi Shankaracharya tells here is that Evam Nirantara Abhyasta means we have to put tireless efforts for this Atmabodha, for this realization of the self. Tireless effort is required. Now, having said that, now he goes about suggesting how to go about this. So, in the previous shloka, we have to reduce our vasanas to a great extent. And I already gave the techniques to a great extent how to reduce vasana. Japa sadhana, pratipaksha bhavana, manduki mudra, nishkam karma yoga, chidakas dharana. These are the techniques through which we can reduce the vasanas. Now, in the 30th shloka, Adi Shankara says, Vivikta desha asinah viragah vijitendriyah havayed ekam atmanam tam anantam ananyadhi. So now he is giving the technique of sadhana. How to go about it now? Vivikta desha asinah. So we have to sit in a quiet solitude. Now generally, of course, solitude means we can't possibly sit for meditation in traffic junction. As it is, our mind is stormy and we can't sit quietly, and if we sit in a traffic junction, it is not worth it. So now the thing is that here Adi Shankara says that okay, for sadhaka it is important that they choose a solitary place, a place of solitude where the sadhaka is not disturbed. Any kind of disturbance is not there to a great extent. We cannot completely negate all the disturbances. Something or the other will go on. But as much as possible where the least disturbance is there, Vivikta Desha. Now this is regarding the physical. So physical place, Vivikta Desha is the physical place where we are least disturbed. We need not run away to the mountain top. Okay, nobody will disturb me on the mountain top and I'll be in solitude. I can meditate there. But mountain top will have its own problems. If you retire to the forest, forest will give their own problem. Wherever we go, the problem will be there. So more than the place, here what is meant by Vivikta Desha is the mind. Whether the mind has become solitude or not. See, the thing is that there are 2-3 words are there in English. One is being alone, being in solitude, and being lonely. So being lonely is the lowest type. Somebody who can't tolerate his or her own company, that person feels bored. Whenever I hear somebody talking that I am bored, now such a person who says that I am bored actually means that he cannot tolerate his own company. And then he starts calling people. Hey, look here, what are you doing? If you are not doing anything, please come over, or I will come over there. So that means this bored entity who cannot tolerate his own company, he wants to impose that bored company on someone else. So either going there or either inviting that person here. So boredom means one who says that I am bored means that person cannot tolerate his or her own company. So, and a little further if you go, then such a person feels lonely also when nobody is there. There was one person who said that I have got 400 friends and yet I am lonely. Yet I am alone. And then somebody inquired, that is very surprising. You have got 400 friends and you call yourself lonely. How is that? Because all those 400 friends are on Facebook, whom he has never met personally. So they are only virtual reality for him. That doesn't work. So the thing is that we should start enjoying our own company. As a spiritual seeker, when you don't feel bored when we are all alone and you don't feel lonely, more important than not feeling bored is feeling lonely. Neither I am bored nor I am lonely. Then you mean business on the spiritual path. You should neither be bored nor you should feel lonely. And you should actually enjoy solitude. The condition should be such that, like in Bhaja Govindam, it is said that Yogartova Bhogartova Sangartova Sanga Vihina Yasya Brahmani Ramate Chintam Nandati Nandati Nandati. Now, such a one, whether he is in yoga or bhoga, it doesn't make any difference to him. Sangartova Sanga Vihina. If somebody, he is having somebody's company or he is all alone, it doesn't make any difference to his blissful state. So if somebody is there, good, very good. And if nobody is there, excellent. So both ways, it is not that if somebody is there, again he makes a face, oh, now who has come this and why they are disturbing my solitude. No. Whether somebody is there also, it should not affect you. And if nobody is there also, it should not affect us. Then we are living a spiritual life. There should be no question of any boredom, no question of any loneliness. If we complain about boredom or loneliness, we are not living a spiritual life. As simple as that. We should start enjoying our solitude also. So Vivikta Desha, in real meaning, is that making the mind quiet. That is the real Vivikta Desha. Whether we are sitting in a busy city like Mumbai, or whether we go to some hill station, or we are in a quiet place, it doesn't matter. If our mind is quiet, it doesn't matter where we are. So quietening the mind is the important thing. So to quieten the mind, we have already seen that we have to reduce our vasana, because vasana is the culprit which is at the subconscious level. It is there always at the surface of the subconscious level, and on time to time it keeps manifesting at the conscious level, and from there we get all the desires, and those desires then will make us restless, will put into activity, and then the whole thing starts, the cycle starts. So first thing is that reduce the vasanas as much as possible. To that extent the mind will be calm. Vivikta Desha now we are. So such a calm mind only can be applied to reflection and contemplation of the higher reality, not otherwise. A mind which is stormy cannot be applicable for this reflection and contemplation of the higher reality. So initially in meditation also, all the initial techniques are for that reason only, for that purpose only. The purpose is to make the mind single pointed. So Vivikta Desha Asinaha, and the next two words, Viragaha Vijitendriyaha. Two words he has used here, Viragaha Vijitendriyaha. Viraga is dispassion. Vairagya is dispassion. Dispassion means not having desire whatsoever. Vairagya, in Atmabodh also, Vairagya is described as no desire whatsoever for anything in this world, gross or subtle. nor of any other world. No desire whatsoever. No desire for any material things of this world, nor for name and fame, nor for going to heaven or to other lokas, and not even to please God. Nothing, absolutely no desire whatsoever. That is called as viraga. Absolute desireless person, viraga. So viraga, when you are desireless, mind is absolutely quiet and calm. See, when a desire arises for our object, for any object, what happens is that as soon as the desire arises, we become miserable. Until we fulfill that desire, we'll be miserable. So now to fulfill that desire, we have to invest money, put efforts, give time also. And then once we fulfill it, then at that time we are very happy. Like for example, if we saw a particular object in somewhere in some showroom and we want to buy it, and then it is quite expensive, but once a desire arises, it will make us restless. So we start saving money, cutting on our expenses and things like that. Maybe it may take 6 months or a year. Once we save that kind of money, and then we are happy that now we can possess the object, but there is an apprehension. I hope the price has not increased. So we go to that shop and we check the price. So it is very good, the same price. So we are happy. We immediately pay the money and possess the object. When you possess the object, that moment we are so happy because we are desiring it for last several months, and now that object is in our possession. We are happy. When we thoroughly analyze, we have seen that through proper analysis, there is no joy, pleasure or happiness in any of the objects of this world. So now the moment we possess that object, where is that happiness coming from? That happiness comes from within. A desireless state of mind is the cause of that happiness. Temporarily now our mind has become desireless because we have fulfilled that. You see, now that we have possessed that object, so now that desirous, temporarily our mind has become desireless. So the desireless state of mind is the cause of happiness, not the possession of that object itself. You see? So it has come from within. So viraga. So if we can keep our mind desireless for a longer time, to that extent mind will be calm and peaceful and will be happy. So therefore, vivikta desha asina viraga, that dispassion has to be that. Vijitendriya. So viraga and vijitendriya, two words are used. Vijitendriya means control over the sense organs, the senses. And viraga is the control of the mind. So mind and the senses. Basically, senses are, again, they are inert organs. And unless mind is connected to the senses, it will not work. So mind, the sense organs will not function unless the mind is connected. And again, the mind has to be enlivened by the consciousness. So this is what it is. So the more important thing is that once you have control over the mind, then sense organs are automatically under control. But those who cannot control the mind, then at least they should control over the senses. Both the organs of perception as well as the organ of action. Jnanendriya as well as karmendriya. So viragaha vijitendriyaha, the one who has conquered or has full control over the senses, bhavayed ekam atmanam. Bhavayed. Then meditate upon that one self, one pure self. Now we have already seen, just sitting in meditation and chanting, I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the body, I am not the mind, it doesn't help, like a parrot. We should know for sure, we should have a very clear concept in our mind, why I cannot be the body, why I cannot be the mind. Once nirantar abhyasta, continuously we are doing this abhyasa, then at least parokshetvana we get convinced that yes, we cannot be any of these. And that also to a great extent help us to transcend the fear of death also. The presence or absence of the Panchakoshas doesn't affect my existence. The Panchakoshas are because of me, their existence is because of me, my existence is not because of them. Presence or absence of these Panchakoshas will not affect my existence. So the fear of death also will go away to a great extent, even if we have not realized the self as yet, even with this Paroksha Jnana also. The Paroksha Jnana also helps us to a great extent. So this viraga, bhavayat ekam atmanam. And then when we have discarded all the Panchakoshas one by one, then what remains is the self. So then, bhavayat, then meditate upon that self. Bhavayat ekam atmanam tam anantam ananyadhi. Tam anantam. That anantam, that infinite self. How is this meditation going on? Ananyadhi. Ananyadhi means, dhi is the intellect, dhi, buddhi, buddhi. Ananya means with single pointed mind intellect activity. Single pointed. Ananya. Nothing else should come in between. Continuously, fully focused on that, single pointed on that. So Vivikta Desha Asinaha, Viraga, Vijitendriya, these are the things needed for that. And Bhavayat Ekam Atmanam, that oneself, Tam Anantam, that infinite oneself, with single pointed mind, single pointed intellect, we have to continuously contemplate on that. So now we have understood the real meaning of Vivikta Desha. Now, having said that, in the 39th shloka, Adi Shankaracharya says, Atmani eva akhilam drishyam pravilapya dhiya sudhi bhavayet ekam atmanam nirmala akashavat sada. Now, further on this contemplation, here Adi Shankaracharya says, Atmani eva akhilam drishyam pravilapya dhiya sudhi. Now, when we are in dream state, we are in the dream world, in the dream state, and as a dreamer, we are experiencing the dream world, the objects of the dream world. Now, from the dreamer, when we become the waker, where does the dream world, along with the dreamer, dream objects, dream experiences, where do they go? They merge into the dreamer's mind, who has become now the waker. So the dreamer has become the waker, and the entire dream world has merged into the waker's mind. Isn't it? The dream world, the dream experiences, the dream object, the dreamer, everything has merged into the waker's mind, has disappeared completely. Now, similarly here now when will the waking world, the waker, the waking world, the waking of world's objects and the waking experience, now pravilapya, so Atmani eva akhilam drishyam pravilapya dhiya sudhi. So these have to be merged. All these intelligently, that we have to merge the entire objects, entire the world of experiences and objects into the self alone. Like the entire dream world was merged into the waker's mind, similarly now the entire waking world, waking objects and the experience of the waking world, they have to be merged into the self by constant contemplation. Bhavayad ekam atmanam. Again in that one self, the entire world has to merge into that. Nirmala akashavat sada. Nirmala akashavat sada. Nirmala, that is pure, unblemished. Nirmala is unblemished, without any blemish. Akashavat. Now the example he gives is that Akashavat, sada, always. The space is always without any blemish. Always without any blemish space. So many things are happening in space. But space doesn't get affected by that. So many things are happening. We see the changing colors of the space. In the early morning, we see the sky reddish when the sun is rising. But sky doesn't, there is no color for space. And it doesn't hold on, it doesn't get attached to that red color in the morning. Then the color changes. And then it may appear when there are no clouds, we can see it is blue also. In the bright sunny day, we can see blue skies also. In the evening again, it again changes the color to orange and yellow and orange and so on. It doesn't matter. In that same space, wars are going on, killings are going on, good karmas are going on. So many things are, so many acts are going on. And yet, it doesn't affect the space. Space remains unblemished. Rains fall, it doesn't affect the space. It is untouched by the rains also. The space remains untouched. It is not affected by any of these. Like the sun illumines everything on earth, good and bad, everything it illumines. It illumines the Ganges water also, it illumines the gutter water also. But it doesn't get holy by illumining the Ganges water by falling, that is sunlight falling on the Ganges water, nor it gets sullied or dirty by falling on the waters of the gutter. It remains untouched. Though it falls on that, it illumines that. Space also accommodates everything, good and bad, and everything goes on, but it remains untouched by that. So, Nirmala Akashavat Sada. So, that pure self, Bhavayad Ekam Atmanam. So, now we have to meditate on that self. Now, these are the pointers which Adi Shankaracharya is giving. So, how is that pure self? It is like the space which is always unblemished. So, similarly, this self, pure self, is also always unblemished. Akashavat Sada, always unblemished. So many things will be happening. One cannot say that this is Papi Atma and this is Punyatma. No, Atma is one only. There is no Papi Atma and Punyatma. This Papa and Punya, comes under the realm of duality in the relative existence. Papa and Punya, Dharma and Adharma, Hinsa and Ahimsa, and all that thing is in the realm of duality. So the Atma is neither Papi nor Punya. It is untouched by all these dualities, the pairs of opposites. So it is always Nirmala. It is untouched by that. And therefore, actually, the word that is used commonly in India, which is called as for suicide, they call it Atmahatya. Actually, that is a absolutely wrong word. For suicide to call it Atmahatya, because Atma cannot be killed. They have to call it Dehatya, not Atmahatya. What the person is doing is that killing the body, not Atma. Atma cannot be killed. So calling it as Atmahatya is absolutely wrong. Dehatya, that is the right word. And actually the funny thing is that the person who commits suicide, his body is not troubling him. The one who is troubling is the mind. And for the problems of the mind, he is killing the body. He should punish the mind instead of punishing the body. And if he succeeds in killing the mind, then he realizes the self. You see, this is the funny thing is that this Atmahatya cannot be, that word itself is wrong. Yes, it has to be Dehatya. Atma cannot be killed. It is beginningless and eternal. So Dehatya. So one can kill the body. But actually again, the one who commits suicide, he is not killing the body because body is troubling him. He is killing it because his mind is troubling him. And the troublemaker is not punished, someone else is punished. So if he thinks properly, then he should kill his mind. And if he succeeds in killing the mind, he will become a Mahatma. So Nirmala Akashavat Sada. So Bhavet Ekam Atmanam, Nirmala Akashavat Sada. So this again, another thing is done. So now, what is to be done is that as the dream world merges into our mind, so in the waker's mind, the dream world merges into. So similarly, now the waking world, waking objects, waking experience has to merge into that self, into the pure self, who is the illuminator of all the experiences of the waking, dream, and the deep sleep state. Now, having said that, we move on to the next shloka, shloka 40. In this shloka 40, Rupa Varnadikam Sarvam Vihaya Paramarthavit Paripurna Chidananda Swarupena Avatishthate. Now, having thus done all this, Rupa Varna Adikam Sarvam Vihaya Paramarthavit. Paramarthavit, the one who has realized the self, who has realized that absolute truth, realized the self, Paramarthavit. Now, what has he done is that Rupa Varnadikam Sarvam Vihaya. The one who has realized, he has discarded all that. Discarded means what? He doesn't have to go and commit suicide. Discarded means he has lost identity with the body, mind, intellect, equipment. Losing identity means dissolving the ego. That's all. You don't have to commit suicide or you don't have to end the body. and the body, mind, intellect, equipment. No. So Rupa Varnadikam Sarvam Vihaya. In Vivek Chudamani, in 254th shloka, there are 10 shlokas given that beginning from 254th shloka up to 263rd shloka. In 10 shlokas, Adi Shankara gives the 10 shlokas for meditation. In the very first shloka, he says that Jati Niti Kula Gotra Duragam Nama Rupa Gunadosha Varjitam Desha Kala Vishayati Vartiyat Brahma Tattvamasi Bhavayatmani. So Jati Niti Kula Gotra Duragam. This has been Vihaya. There is no Jati Niti Kula Gotra for a realized master. Nama Rupa Guna Dosha Varjitam. There is neither Nama nor Rupa nor Guna nor Dosha Varjitam. Desha Kala Vishaya. This also has been given up. He is beyond time and space, beyond the limitations of time and space, and all the Vishayas, the objects of indulgences that are there in this world. Desha Kali Vishayati Vartya. Brahma Tattvamasi Bhavayatmani. That is what he says in that. So here, Rupa Varnadikam Sarvam Vihaya Paramarthavit. The one who has realized this self. Vihaya Paramarthavit. Paripurna Chidananda. Paripurna. Paripurna means complete. In our ignorance, as long as we do not know the self, we'll have a sense of incompleteness. And because of this sense of incompleteness, what happens is that because of this sense of incompleteness, what happens is that we try to complete ourselves. Complete ourselves by trial and error. People go through various experiences. Somebody feels incomplete. A youngster feels incomplete. So somebody advises, it is about time you get married. Then you will be complete. Then he gets married and then also feels that he is incomplete. So others advise, that is because you don't have kids, you see. So therefore you are incomplete. And then he has kids. And then he doesn't have time to think whether it's complete or incomplete, because then he gets too much busy with that, taking responsibility for everything. So because of this sense of incompleteness, by trial and error method, we want to complete ourselves. That doesn't happen as long as the ignorance is there. So Paripurna means full. Purnam, that is infinite. That is what, when we do the Shanti mantra, we say Purnamadah Purnamidam. Purnat Purnamudachyate. So it is the infinite, and from infinite you cannot add or take anything out of the infinite. There will be infinite only. So Purna, Paripurna, in everything it is full and complete. There is nothing to add to that. There is nothing to take away from that. Even anything is taken away from infinite. What can you take? Anything you take away. Infinite minus 1 or infinite plus 1 doesn't make any sense. So Paripurna, nothing to add, nothing to take, or whether it is anything taken or anything added, it doesn't make any difference. Paripurna, Chidananda. Chidananda. Bliss, that is the bliss. Ananda is the bliss. Chid. Chid is the supreme consciousness, pure bliss. So this bliss of pure awareness, bliss of pure thought-free, objectless awareness, Chidananda. So that is Paripurna Chidananda Swarupena Avatishthate. Then he is fully established. Paripurna. He is fully established in his own self. Swarupena Avatishthate. That Paripurna Chidananda is his own self. That is his own self. And that is where he is fully established. Swarupena Avatishthate. So, Rupa Varnadikam Sarvam Vihaya Paramarthavit Paripurna Chidananda Swarupena Avatishthate. Now, the knower becomes the same. The knower of Brahman becomes Brahman. Brahmavid Brahmaiva Bhavati. Brahmavid Brahmaiva Bhavati. So, like that, so the one who is knower of the self, so he is Atmavid, Paramarthavid. Brahmayut Brahmaiva Bhavat. So this way now Adi Shankara in this, the 4 shlokas that we have seen today, he has given a technique of the sadhana, how we should go about it. And then having contemplated and reflected, evam nirantar abhyasta, and then we go on to the contemplation further, and then we have to get rid of the vasanas also. So it is now here in one stroke it has been given, but it is a long process. We do not know, each one of us will be at different stage of evolution on the spiritual path. So according to that, we have to progress from wherever we are. But we should not have any despair. Anyone can realize at any moment, because we are that self alone. Now, further shlokas will take in our next session.
Yes, Swamiji will take question and answer.
Yeah.
Dear participants, I have by email I had sent one question to Swamiji. I'll read out the benefit of the question which was sent to Swamiji. And this is a question which often arises in our study circle. And somehow that we couldn't, even after giving this explanation, we couldn't satisfy ourselves about the explanation. So Swamiji will clear the doubt about the this question.
What is the question?
Question is, it is easily understood now what is gross body or sthula sharira, subtle body or sukshma sharira. But we find difficult to understand and describe the causal body, karana sharira. And that is a question 1. Question 2. And how deep sleep or sushupti avastha of consciousness represents causal body. Why ma in Om, A-U-M, Om, said to represent Karana Sharira? Swamiji, please explain to us.
Now the last part of this question, why Makar is this represents the causal body or the deep sleep state, that is part of Mandukya Upanishad. That we'll do it when we take up that. The first 2 parts, we'll do it now. Okay. So now the first part is that now that is the difficulty in understanding the causal body, because we can understand the subtle body and we can understand the gross body, but we find it difficult to understand the causal body. Okay, so this will take up. Unlike the gross and the subtle body, gross and the subtle body, they are made up of matter, gross matter and subtle matter. But causal body is not made up of matter. Let us get this thing very clearly. Why we find it difficult to understand or comprehend the causal body. Why causal body is called as avidya, and why we find it difficult? Because gross and subtle body, they are made up of matter. Gross body is made up of the gross matter, the Panchamahabhuta, and subtle body is made up of the subtle aspects of the Panchamahabhuta. But both are matter, but not the causal body. This we have to be very clear about. Okay. Therefore, when it is not made up of matter, then what happens is that then it will not have any form, any quality, any color, any form, nothing, it will be there. So it is ignorance. Why it is called as ignorance? Because ignorance is basically absence of knowledge. And there is no degree of ignorance. Everybody's ignorance level is the same. But the objects of that of ignorance will be different. Somebody may not know about a particular thing, somebody may not know about the computer, somebody may not know about a particular machine or things like that. That objects will be different, but ignorance will be common to all. So ignorance is common to all. Ignorance is absence of knowledge, basically. Now, this causal body, which has got no form, unlike the gross and the subtle body, which is of the nature of ignorance. Now, even our Shastras say that it is anirvachaniya. Anirvachaniya means it is very, very difficult. It cannot be described. Anirvachaniya means it cannot be described. That way, even absolute truth is anirvachaniya. But this is specially anirvachaniya. Now, what can we describe? That which is existent, we can talk about that. That which is non-existent, we can talk about that also. But that which is neither existent nor non-existent, that becomes difficult to talk about. Therefore, our scriptures talk about avidya, a causal body, or avidya, as anirvachaniya. It cannot be described. We cannot say that it is existent, because with knowledge, this ignorance is destroyed. This avidya is destroyed. Existence is something which is there in all three periods of time. It is beyond the limitations of time and space. So if you say that ignorance is existent, then with knowledge, the ignorance will go away. Okay. So with the knowledge, ignorance will go away. But then, and therefore it cannot be called as existent. But at the same time, we cannot call it as non-existent also, because we are experiencing its effect. The gross and subtle body is the effect of that ignorance only, and we are experiencing that. So we cannot say it is non-existent also. So it is neither existent nor non-existent. It is anirvachaniya. So that is the funny part of this ignorance, this avidya. And avidya is called as, now Shushupti avastha is called, this avidya is called as Shushupti avastha. Why? Because we have knowledge about a waking experience. We have knowledge about a dream experience also. But when we go into deep sleep state, now every individual's experience at the waking plane may be different, at the dream state may be different. But as soon as they go into the deep sleep state, everybody's experience is the same. So everybody's ignorance level is same, whatever may be that. So either we know or we do not know. In spirituality, there is nothing like, okay, I have realized 60% I have realized, now 40% more to realize. No, either you are realized or not realized. Plain and simple. So ignorance level is same. Okay. So now Shushupti avastha, we do not know. The moment we wake up from deep sleep experience for everybody is same. Everybody will say the same thing. Nobody wakes up and says that I knew everything and I was very miserable. No. Everybody will say that I didn't know anything, but I enjoyed it. I didn't know anything, but I enjoyed it. Now, didn't know anything. So there was absolute ignorance there. So Shupti Avastha is also manifestation of ignorance only. So therefore, this causal body is also called as Sushupti Avastha, because now the gross and the physical body, this gross and the subtle body has manifested from this ignorance, from the causal body. Now it is called as causal because it is the cause of subtle and the gross body. So because of the avaran or the absolute truth, ignorance is there, and from that it has emerged the Panchama Bhutas and the subtle and the gross body. Okay, this is what it has emerged from that. Now what has happened is that now because of this ignorance, once that ignorance goes away, so like the dream world merged into the dreamer waker's mind, and the waking world merges back into the self. So now this causal body is there. So this, once this ignorance goes away, this also will disappear. This the Sushupti Avastha. Now in Sushupti Avastha, what happens is that Sushupti Avastha also the waking and the dream state is merged. It is almost like that because in Sushupti Avastha we are closest to our real self. That is where we get a glimpse of the blissful state of our real self. Only a glimpse we get there in Sushupti Avastha. So what happens is that temporarily the waking and the dream that is absorbed into that, and we are not aware of anything, but it is in ignorance. It is in total ignorance because there is an absence of ego, that's fine, but we have absolutely no knowledge of it. When we wake up at that time, we say, if the same experience happened in the waking plane of consciousness, minus the ego, because temporarily the ego is absent in the deep sleep state. If that can happen in the waking plane of consciousness, then we have arrived. So therefore, this avidya in Sandipani, we had one Swamiji, he also attended Mahasamadhi, Swami Purushottamanaji. He told us that when he came to Sandipani from the first batch, so he was all agitated because of this ignorance, because of this avidya, for causal body and avidya and ignorance was very much agitated. So he asked Gurudev about avidya. With this avidya I have not understood, and he was asking, trying to clarify this avidya. So Gurudev told him, have you come here to do a PhD on avidya or to acquire knowledge? So now avidya is also anadi, but it is not ananta. It is beginningless, but it is not eternal, because with knowledge, with vidya, avidya is destroyed. So this thing we have to get, however old that avidya may be there, but with knowledge it will get destroyed. So therefore also it is anirvachaniya. Param Satya is beginningless and eternal, and the relative existence is neither beginningless nor eternal. But its avidya is neither here nor there. It is beginningless, but it is not eternal. So therefore anirvachaniya. So neither here nor there. This neither here nor there thing is always confusing. In Pandavas also, among the Pancha Pandavas, this Arjuna was neither here nor there. The first two and the last two, they were very clear in their mind about the Mahabharata war. But this Arjuna was the only one who was confused, was neither here nor there, the middle fellow. So neither here nor there is the only thing that troubles us. So like that, this avidya. So therefore, we do not have to bother too much about avidya. So now we have understood that the dream, the waking and the dream state merges in the waker's mind, and the waking experience merges into the self. That is when the realization happens. In the deep sleep state, temporarily that happens, but in ignorance. We are not aware of it. And therefore we wake up, though we have had a glimpse of that without experiencing any of the objects of the world, we had a glimpse of that bliss. Everybody has the same experience. We had the glimpse of that bliss and we wake up, but we have no knowledge of it because it was in ignorance. When it happens in knowledge, then like Nisarata Maharaj said, I see my body sleeping. He doesn't say that I sleep. He says that I see my body sleeping. So that is what it is. So we should not bother too much about this avidya and causal body. The causal body and avidya, they are the same, because from the causal body, the subtle and gross body has come. And initially, it is because of the avidya of the self, not knowing the self, then the Pancha Mahabhuta and the subtle and the gross body has come. And then it will again merge back into the waker's mind, and the waking conscious, the waking experience also merges into the self. So this gross and the subtle and the causal body, as soon as the ignorance is over, all these three bodies also disappear with that. So that is what it is. That is the only thing that we need to understand. Anirvachaniya.
Okay. Now, Swamiji, your explanation will help our senior most member, Mr. Bagai, his career, because I think almost every time he used to raise this question, and we used to find very difficult to answer and satisfy him. I'm sure he must be satisfied today.
Yeah. So instead of focusing on ignorance, we should focus on knowledge. Whatever we need to know about ignorance, we have known. That much is enough. No need to know more about it. Now we have to find out the ways and means to get out of that ignorance.
Now, Swamiji, last thing is bhajan. Today I am going to sing the bhajan.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Shiva Shambho Shambho Shiva Shambho Mahadeva Shiva Shambho Shambho Shiva Shambho Mahadeva Hara 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 Mahadeva Shiva Shambho Mahadeva. Hara 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 Mahadeva Shiva Shambho Mahadeva. Hala Hala Dara Shambho Anath Natha Shambho. Hala Hala Dara Shambho Anath Natha Shambho. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om, 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 Hari Om, 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 Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Shiva Shambho, Shambho. Swamiji will do Shanti Path.
Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Hari Om.
Swamiji, Hari Om. Thank you very much, Swamiji.
Hari Om to everyone.
Hari Om, Sai Ram, Sai Ram.
Hari Om. Thank you.